Hi, I'm Dean Jones, President and CEO of Realogic Sotheby's International Realty, and it's a great pleasure to welcome Cal Lyford back to the Pacific Northwest, our VP of Regional Sales for Sotheby's International Realty Affiliates. We go back a ways.
We do go back a ways. In fact, this is where I grew up.
In the Northwest?
I'm a Bellevue kid. I like to say I lived in Bellevue before Bellevue was Bellevue.
Yeah. Did it have a stoplight back then?
It had one.
Okay.
It was on Main Street and
Well, we're so proud to be on Main Street.
You have lots of, yes, you are. So yeah, I was a paper boy for the Bellevue American, so that's as Bellevue as it could be.
Well, I thank you for delivering this brand to us. In 2010, we joined Sotheby's International Realty, and I'm just so honored to have been chosen to help lead our growth in the region. And you took a chance on us, and hopefully that's worked out.
Well, it's shocking to me that it's been 15 years. Mm-hmm. But we always believed that the brand would work well in the Seattle market, Seattle, Bellevue, the entire area. You've kind of proven us right.
Yeah. Well, we're so thankful. I remember 15 years ago, a little nervous, a little less gray, and we were with the president at the time, CEO, Mike Good, and he had a great statement, humbly recognizing the trajectory that we were going to be on together. And he just says, Dean, we choose to be, the greatest global luxury real estate brand in the world. And we may not be there yet, but we're certainly on our way. Yeah. And I look back now 15 years later, and I mean, the results are in, the stats are there. I mean, would you say that that hallmark has been reached?
I would say that humbly, along with Mike Good, who was a fantastic person, I think we've made a big move, but we're not done yet.
Right.
We're not done innovating, and we're not done growing the brand. And so I'm excited about the future for us. And it's amazing to look back. I mean, when you started with us, you had about 12 agents.
Yeah, founding members.
And most of them still here.
9 of us are still here, and it's phenomenal for 15 years.
Yeah, and I'll never forget that when we first met with you, we was probably further down the road. Moira Hawley had a listing that was about to expire, and she was fearful that she was going to lose that listing. It was a significant listing. And Rich Green suggested to her, why don't you call your client and tell them that you're switching to Sotheby's International Realty and see what they say. And she was able to retain that listing and then sell that house. And it's kind of neat because most agents at some point with us have a Sotheby's moment. It's kind of a magical moment where something happens, and for her to have it that moment actually even before she had it on her business card is pretty neat.
Well, and that's the promise of the flight to quality that we hope all of our real estate advisors are able to enjoy. I think I'm having that moment right now, Cal.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good.
Here we are. I mean, finally on the other side of all the melees of the last 5 years and starting the second half of this decade. Will it be the roaring 20s? What's your prognosis?
Listen, I'm an optimistic person all the time. I'm optimistic about this year, and I do believe in the flight to quality. Listen, my guiding thing for everything I do is always asking the question, what's good for consumers?
Right.
And what we do and what you do is good for consumers.
Yes.
Whereas there's a lot of I hate to say this, but there's a lot of companies in this space that I think are good for the agents, but not good for consumers.
Well, it has to be a win-win-win, right? To be sustainable. So good for the consumer, great for the agent, and sustainable for the business operations. And we have innovated a lot along the way, but at the end of the day, I view our brand as being this gift you get to unwrap every single day, go out there and do your best work, and ultimately the cost doesn't come until you've had success.
Right.
So who wouldn't want to win the race prior to having to put in, the effort, if you think about it? So that is a distinction, I think, of Sotheby's International.
And to your point, it's about agents embracing the brand.
Right.
It's not just a sign you stick out in front of you in a yard, but it's you really embracing the brand. I tell agents when they first join us, I sometimes say, look, we're putting a Ferrari in your garage. Go drive it.
Right.
Don't just leave it in your garage.
Yeah.
Take it for a spin.
Use all the cylinders, the referral network, the pedigree, the trust, and the performance. We are setting benchmarks for the top 10 largest brands in our region, and so proud to have many of those accolades and highest average selling prices and broker productivity, retained commission rates, some of the lowest days on market. I mean, you really can have the best of both worlds, increasing your broker production and also increasing your price point at the same time. And sometimes that goes well beyond, your region and across state lines and even internationally.
Right.
How significant has the referral network been in the last couple of years?
Oh, it's amazing how that's gone. In fact, I know an agent from your company is looking for an agent down in the Granite Bay area, and she'll be hooked up by the end of this day.
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
And so there's no question that's happening. There's a lot of chatter going on. But one of the unique things about the Sotheby's network, which I think is incredibly powerful, I mean, compared to other real estate networks, I don't think there is a comparison. Agents with Sotheby's are very particular about who they refer their clients to. They want to know that their client is going to get the same quality service that they want to give them, but can't because they're in a different place. So our network is amazing.
I have to say, I mean, coming from a family background in development and from an international marketplace, building upon the culture that people like Rich Green and, of course, Mike Good and yourself, back in the day have continued to program throughout your company as well as us as a franchisee. I mean, this just feels like a corporate family that we get to choose and work alongside each other. And it's consistent in all the markets and all the operations, both from the brand integrity through consistent branding and also the level of service that you speak of and the trust really that requires to place an important referral in the hands of someone that you might have just met through the network. I don't know that gets replicated often.
I think it's rare. I think it's really rare. We feel like we have a gift. The brand itself, founded in 1744, what Mike Good did along with Philip White, and Philip White now at the helm now, it's really amazing, but we do not take for granted that brand is something spectacular that we need to protect.
As I look forward at demographics and with the psychographics of the great wealth transfer, with more than $90 trillion of potential transfers, a lot of that in real estate, both commercial and residential. I mean, we're really well positioned having some of the most notable family offices as clients and, of course, destination markets around the world that they may choose to downsize and start to frequent in the sunset of their life. But we are really well positioned, I think, to finish strong this decade that we started.
I totally agree. I'm very bullish. I think the brand's in a good spot. I think we've got the right people in the right places, and I'm very bullish about the coming years here.
We're recognized for having a robust culture, especially everything that we've been through, right? And we have unique real estate venues. Offices are different looking. They're in prime retail locations. We have a lot of events. We've got a lot of divisions, like new developments and, and vertically integrated clay agency and the things that you read about. And they're hard to do. We produced the first all-Mandarin publication. We have, retail operations with food and beverage. We're doing a lot of events. We're doing a lot of things with new story homes. I mean, these are all cultural distinctions that make us a little different than rolling up to a commercial office park, which feels like a doctor's office, going in there and getting a rubber stamp on something and then hiding your paperwork because you're worried about someone stealing your deal.
Stealing your stuff.
Where here we have sponsored collaboration hours by our brokers for our brokers.
I had an experience one time when someone was coming and looking at the brand, and we have what's called VIP.
Yeah.
And Philip is there, Brad is there, John Passerini, Tammy's there, Joe, myself. We're all sitting around the table. And we just kind of go around, we introduce each other. And Philip starts out saying, I've been with the brand, before 04, and been with it for 20 some odd years now. And then Brad talks about, I've worked with these affiliates, and then this, and I've been with the brand for 15 years. And John Passerini, I joined the brand in 2004 when it first started. I've been with their tech team the whole time. Tammy says I started as their lawyer, then morphed to this current role as the senior vice president. And the person who we had in said, you know what, the brand I'm with changes leadership every 2 years. And they said, you guys have all been here like 20 years.
It's incredible.
He goes, that's unheard of. And the thing about that is actually even could be a danger that we've avoided very well is doing that without becoming stale.
And continuing innovation.
Yeah.
And you think of a brand that was storied back in 1744, yet still so progressive
Yeah.
in thought leadership, and obviously look at the PR coverage. Brad Nelson and the entire team have just dominated.
Our
the
PR
headlines.
team is ridiculous. They are amazing.
Well, I gotta say, in the 15 years that we've come to know each other and enjoy our company as peers, but this is the corporate family that we choose, and I view Sotheby's International Realty no longer as a small boutique brokerage, but you are large enough to matter significantly at the high end of the market especially, but small enough to care. I mean, it feels like it's a first name basis. We have our global networking events. Now we have events like Level Up, which is coming in November here in LA. And these are all sponsored by our brokers and our affiliates, for our brokers and our affiliates, and are not even corporate events any longer.
Yeah.
I mean, only in this brand is that occurring on a natural basis. It feels like it's as much a lifestyle proposition as it is a real estate network. What do you credit to that sort of eventuality with the company that you keep?
Oh, I think that starts at the top. We have an amazing senior leadership team
Yes.
that, by the way, have been around for a long time
Right.
without becoming stale. They know our people. And I mean, you know all our senior leadership. You probably have everyone's cell number.
Right.
And it's something we value. One of the crazy things is late last year we had our global networking event in Nashville, which was amazing. I had not been there before. I was kind of blown away. But what's crazy is we have this whole thing planned, and then there's hundreds of events that orbit around that are just pop-up events. And people call me up and they go, "Hey, Cal, are you going to the pickleball thing?" I go, "What pickleball thing?" I mean, there's, you name it.
It was almost overwhelming.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But what happens is that's all part of the culture. It's part of the people want to get together. I mean, I've been to family reunions where you look around and you go, actually, no one really wants to be here. And there are other family reunions I'm going, wow, everyone's engaged.
Right.
And boy, when we do events, it's engaged. And that has to be, and it has been replicated on the local level.
Right.
With what you do and your consistency of leadership and things like that.
Well, thank you. I look out at our audience and our roster when we do our cultural events, and there is that spirit of collaboration, and I always view them as if they had tails, they'd be wagging.
Yeah.
Like they want to be together rather than it being competitive or combative. It truly is a culture of collaboration, and it doesn't just happen here at RSIR, it's happening throughout our network, and of course, accumulates at these global networking events.
Right.
I believe that that's very distinct for the real estate community.
I think it's totally unique. It's really kind of magic. It really is.
I mean, I would choose to be specialized in the luxury side of the market, notwithstanding all the opportunities at all property types and price points.
There's a lot of reasons why being at the luxury end is advantageous.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, some of the people who are trying to completely change the industry work really well in a commoditized market where, you've got 2,000 houses that are all the same. It makes it easy to do a Zillow thing or whatever. But the other thing is that with all the chatter about commission, people at the high end of the market are accustomed to paying professionals.
Right.
And they're not, they understand it. They don't want to do it themselves. That's a waste of their time and money. They want to hire a professional. And so there's a real advantage to being in there, and yet to realize that the brand has enough elasticity to perform at all price points.
Well, 100%. And I think that it is so important, especially for more discrete sales, a lot of which are off market, and playing matchmaker between a would-be buyer, would-be seller happens often in this brand. And the discretion that comes with the trust, associated with our brand promise has time and time again put together benchmark transactions, and a lot of times they're happening behind the scenes,
right,
over the hedge, as they say, beyond the gates. I believe it's distinct to our brand, and it comes with that level of trust and service level that is bespoke to Sotheby's International Realty.
Right.
So here we are at the inflection point of 2025, Cal, and you cover so many different markets in North America. Are you seeing a rebound, sort of a rebirth, if you will, a level of production that is increasing after what feels like a couple of years of decline?
There's been a couple of years of struggle. I think the key thing is that we've not released numbers yet. We will eventually, but I'm confident that when we do, we're going to show that we outperform the market, which is always our goal. But I also think that some of the confusion in the industry is that's kind of settled down a little bit, and people need houses, and I think we're in a great place to serve them now.
Well, this year, 2024, marked an inflection point for RSIR. Our brokers saw sustained growth year over year. We are rebalancing after what has felt like a pretty significant correction industry-wide. Here to grow in our 6 offices. We're in downtown Seattle and Belltown, on Bainbridge Island, Madison Park, here in Kirkland, and also in downtown Bellevue and on Mercer Island.
Yeah.
And
great markets.
Incredibly well positioned.
Yeah.
Along central Puget Sound, and we really feel honored to represent the brand and collaborate with our peers, of course, throughout Washington State. What's your excitement for the Pacific Northwest?
We came here because we believed the brand would work here, and we believe that we're just beginning to scratch the surface of what we can do here. When I grew up in this area, the only employer in town was Boeing. And my dad was an engineer there. That is not the case anymore in the Seattle area. You have fantastic employment.
I think also with the commercial real estate rebalancing, that overhang of unleased office space and sublet space is really going to be the runway for growth as a lot more companies make their way in at more attractive pricing in their lease rates. We see so many Bay Area headquartered companies that have satellite offices that are actually larger here in the Seattle Bellevue metro area than they might be down in San Francisco or San Jose because of the recruiting and retention propensity.
Right.
Cost of living is a little less. Obviously, we don't have a state income tax here.
Yep.
So there's a few advantages.
That's a big deal.
It's a very big deal. Well, we're very optimistic about our growth trajectory. Thank you for all of the ongoing support from the entire family at Sotheby's International Realty. We are honored to work together.
Well, thank you for representing us well for 15 years.
Let's do it again for another
Shall
15. We shall.